Awesome. Right, okay. Welcome back. Awesome. Welcome to Live Lifts. Welcome back to another Live Lifts. Here we go. Let's get straight into it. Attack the bar as we do. Then we'll do the intro, tell you about what we're doing in today's video. Okay. Big lift. 3, 2, 1. Yep. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Woo. Yes, mate. Nice one, mate. Awesome. Thank you. Can I grab you for a couple more sets as well? Is that okay? Can I come and get you for a couple more? Maybe 2 or 3, 4 more sets. Thank you. Thank you very much. Wow. Fantastico. Sound. Well, welcome back. My name's Dr James. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome to all the viewers and all the new viewers if you're new here. This is where we lift and we learn. This is Live Lifts. Let's get straight into it as we always do. We hit the first set, we get going, there's no time for wasting. So, what are we doing today? In this video today, we are going to do incline bench, fantastic, which we hit the shoulders in the last session with the chin-ups. And we also did the dips as well, so this is going to help more chest development. We're in it heavy. So we could consider the dips in the last video, although it was 130 kilo dips with body weight plus 30 kilos on the bar, I would say it was more of a light day. Not that it is a light day, it's a heavy day, but because it's more of a supplementary exercise, it's not directly doing bench press, which we consider the main lift. So we did the supplementary work, so now we're doing a main lift on incline, which we can go heavy on in the session after. Then we're going to do farmer's carry. We haven't done that for a long time, so I'm looking forward to doing it. I really wanted to, because we've done the squat, the bench, deadlift, I've done abs work in the last few weeks. It's a really good all-rounded exercise to really get the full nervous system under stress and the full body under stress and strain for load over time, over tension, sub-max of course. So we're going to hit the farmer's carry and then we're going to bring in some biceps. So we're going to do some biceps after the farmer's carry as well, because the farmer's carry will hit the biceps indirectly. So we really want to hit the biceps again, heavy today, because we did chins this week, we did deadlifts last week, so biceps getting a lot of work, there's a lot of nice stimulation, healthy stimulation for the bicep as well. And today, most importantly, what I want to present to you today is, as we do on this channel, we review products, but we also look at research, we put science and learning into practice as well. So today I have got for you an article, a very interesting article I wanted to share with you. It's a review of injuries in powerlifting with special interest in the association of these injuries to squat, bench, press and deadlift. So stick around for that review at the very end, because it's got some very interesting findings. It's a paper from 2018 in the BMJ, which is the British Medical Journal. So it's open, BMJ open, so it's open access, it's free. I'm free to be able to share this with you, talk about this research. And it's in the BMJ Open of Sports and Exercise Medicine, and it's by Bengtsson and colleagues. So I would put that link to this paper here that I'm going to show you in the description of the video, and we will go through this, I'll talk through this, and it's there for your own reference later on. But it's a very interesting article, and there's some very interesting discussion points as well, so do stick around for that. So very, very important as we do, we will go through that a bit later today, and let's try and get another set. Fantastico. So, awesome. So we'll go through that, so welcome back. So, right, let's do another set because that felt really good. I've crept up on this weight today. We haven't done this for a while actually, incline bench. I don't think we've done it for over a month. But again, as our global strength is increasing, I have crept up by 2.5 kilos, which is 1.25 either side. Not a big jump, nothing glamorous, nothing fancy, but that slow stress strain curve is going up in terms of our weight overload, and we're now pushing up to 6 reps as well. We're trying to get out four sets or so, but we'll see, because that felt tough. That felt tough because after the last session when we did chin-ups and dips, our shoulders got a good workout, so I can feel I don't feel any injury or any fatigue, but I know, and my body knows, that 48 hours ago, my shoulders got a good workout doing the chin-ups and the dips. That does hit the rotator cuff, that deep core of muscles around the humeral head. So lots of good stuff to talk about today. Let me just go and get a spotter, and I will see. We'll see if this gentleman can help us. Hiya, mate. Sorry to disturb you. Do you think you could give us a quick spot on the incline? Is that all right? Appreciate it. Thank you. My name's James. What's your name? Wayne. Good to meet you, Wayne. So it's heavy incline press. Right. I'm going to go for 6 reps. Yes. Let me fight. Yes. So no contact with the bar. Let me fight. All you need to do is unhook. I'll communicate, let go, and then when I say yep, I've finished, just hook back on. Sounds like a plan. Yeah? Awesome. Let me fight. I should be all right. It's only the second set, but let's see how we go. Right, Wayne, here we go. Okay. Right. Nice one, Wayne. 1, 2, big lift. My bar. Bah.
Nice, it's nice.
2, 3. Bah.
Easy, come on. Yes.
Bah.
All day. Go on.
Yeah, boy. Thank you, mate. Thanks, Wayne. Yes, mate. Come on. Awesome. Woo. So, low key, keep it quiet like, but special stream today, very special stream. It's my birthday. No fuss, don't like the fuss. But I have had this thing, I don't know why, but I've just, do you know you do what you want to do? People, oh, go and do this, go and do that on your birthday. No. Do you know what I love doing? I just love going to the gym on my birthday. For as long as I can remember, I've always gone to the gym on my birthday. I've got out and enjoyed myself and done things, of course. Done other stuff, but I just love going to the gym on my birthday. So at least I get 1 session in. No excuses. Go. So it's always good fun. Then we'll go off and socialise later. So thank you for all your well wishes and your cards and your presents. I appreciate it. Thank you. I got them all. Thank you. So yeah, we'll hit the incline bench. So there's a lot of interesting things in the article I'm going to share with you today. And it does bring up lots of discussion points around data collection and reporting and scenarios around injury. But I think it's a really good place to start because it's a good overview of injuries in strength training and powerlifting, and it also leads off in many other channels. And I think it gives us, the reason why I chose this article is because it gives us a nice basis to build on for other studies to look at and other things to incorporate. And it does set up nicely for the podcast, which will come, promise. Probably going to start that in the summer after I've finished my master's and written up various other academic publications and stuff, research and stuff that I work on. So I think the priority is to focus on my other stuff first, and then we'll get to doing podcasts and looking at other literature and stuff in the future, which will be good. So, but we are here progressing and we're growing and shoulders feel good. So how do I feel after the last session? I mentioned the rotator cuff. Does need time to heal, time to repair. Chest feels good. Lower back feels good. Legs feel good. Lats feel good. Biceps feel good. In the warm-up today, I hit heavy abdominal work, heavy core. So the abs would have had a really good workout doing the chin-ups and doing the heavy squats. So I've hit them again individually today. I say isolation, but it wasn't like crunches. It was hanging upside down crunches with a 10 kilo plate. Lots of rotation, lots of honest, true, full range, full stretch in the abs as you lean down and lean back. Really get that rectus abdominis completely stretched out up to the rib cage as well. So, fantastico. Ooh. Ooh. Right, I think we're ready for another one. Yes, please, Wayne. Thank you very much. 6 again, please. We'll go for 6 now. Feel nice and warm. Okie doke. Come on. Okay, it was perfect last time. Thank you very much. Yeah. Okay, nice big control. 3, 2, 1. Time up. One.
Come on.
2, 3.
That's it. You got this, you got this. Come on. Yes. Go on, go on. Yes. Well done.
Thanks. Thanks, Wayne. Thank you, mate. It's tough, mate. Tough. Oh. 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 Wow. Awesome. So it was 2. We'll see how this third set feels. I mean, we might need a bit more recovery because that last rep was really hard. So that's it's going to be the third set. All good. So caution with this exercise as well really is to look after the acromioclavicular joint as well, particularly on the end. I've seen people tear their pec muscle on the incline as well as the flat bench, which we'll discuss a little bit later as well. But I think this is, we're nowhere near our 1 rep max, so 5, 6 reps, pretty good. Needs to get out another 6 though in this next set into the zone. I think my chalk has blocked off. Yeah. See if we can get a spot. A couple of sets. Focus. Very good. You will build your upper pectoralis major, sternoclavicular, sternoclavicular fibers. We're doing flat bench as well, but doing the incline will bring that on. I think it is an essential exercise. I think it's good for the shoulders as well, anterior deltoid, providing you're not overloading. That's very good. Right, we'll try and get another set out. I think we're due. It's going to be tough. But it's a new stimulation. Remember, it's a new weight as well, so don't get too disheartened if you only fail once in the first attempt at the new weight. It is a new stimulation. Your body will recruit and grow by the next session. Maybe stronger. Right, we need to grab one of the boys. I think we should be ready. I'll ask this gentleman over here. Hiya, excuse me. Hiya. Sorry to disturb you. My name's James.
Hi.
Are you all right? Nice to meet you. I'm fine. I'm wondering if you could help us. Could you give us a spot on this incline?
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks a lot. What's your name, mate? Sorry.
Oh, I'm Darren. Sorry.
Darren,
yeah.
Darren. Oh, Darren, good. Ah, yeah. Awesome. My friend tells me you're a bit of a good deadlifter.
Who's there?
Oh, one of the guys who I see.
Once upon a time.
Once upon a time. Oh, you got some stories to tell. Awesome.
How many are we going for?
I'm going to try for 6, please, Darren, yeah? Is that all right?
Yeah, no worries.
So unhook, let me fight that out, yeah? And then hook back on if you can, but just if I'm failing and struggling, just let me fight. Okay. And I'll give you a shout, all right?
I'll let you go.
You know how it is, yeah? We'll try for 6, we should be okay, but we'll see. Okie doke. 3, 2, 1.
Let's go.
Nice. 2.
Good.
3.
Lovely. 4, nice. Good. Come on. 5, drive it out. Come on. You got this, come on. Big power. Let's go. Drive it out.
No. Cheers, Darren.
Right.
Thank you, mate.
Alright.
Thank you.
Happens the best of it, doesn't it?
Happens sometimes. Just that little.
What's up the video?
That's YouTube.
You just YouTube?
Yeah.
You just video yourself,
Just for a bit of fun.
Aye.
Just for a bit of fun, just a live stream, and then I can always.
What is it that you actually use? Because I need like fucking videos for like my business. Is it just a GoPro? Is it you use?
Just the iPhone with a mic. Simple setup, no conflict. You know, don't need a Hollywood studio. Just. Oh, that was tough. I thought it would be tough. Right, so my ego says carry on, knowing I'm gonna not hit all the reps I can. The principle that we teach in this channel though is I now have to drop this weight down. I have to take these 1.25s off because I failed the last rep of the previous set and the last rep of this set just done now. So as much as I would love to, and that is you've been honest with yourself and you've got to do that. That's the bit that hurts, not the failure. It's actually lowering the weight. That's really, really tough. But no ego. So drop the weight down and we'll see if 2.5 kilos makes a difference. It may do. It may not, we'll see. If I was only failing if it was the last set, so my 4th set is coming up now, if it was my 4th set and it was like my last 1 or 2 reps, I'd be fine with that. Because it was only the 2nd and 3rd set that I start to fail on, I think you're only going to get more and more fatigued and you're not going to get optimal recruitment and optimal performance. So we'll see if this 2.5 kilos off makes a difference. Hopefully it will. It should do in theory. The principle there as well is now that if I lower the weight slightly, my body has had an overload, slight overload, and I've hit a heavier weight for reps. So my body is supercharged up for that weight, and I've dropped it down slightly, so it should be a little less taxing on the nervous system as well as the muscle, and it should be, from an energy and performance point of view, I should be able to achieve it. And some people do use that principle where if they want to, let's say they want to squat 100 kilos, they'll actually put 110 or 120 kilos on a certain percentage higher than their target weight. They might lift it off or do a rep or just 2 reps or whatever it might be. And then they'll actually drop it down again to, let's say, 100, the target weight. And it will feel easier, and they'll be able to do all their reps and sets. And it's the principle of kind of overstimulating, over-supercharging the body to think it's going to trick it psychologically into thinking, or physiologically trick, not psychological and physiological trick into a heavier stress. And you go, oh God, that's dead easy. It's kind of like sometimes when you don't realize how much weight's on the bar and you go, oh, was that it? But because you'd thought about it, if you were aware of the weight, it might feel really, really heavy to you. So right, we'll try another set. I think I just need another minute or so. Come up to 3 minutes. Then we'll do the farmer's carry and the bicep curls. the reason why I think this is difficult today, remember the chest has had a good recovery because we only did dips last time and we haven't done bench press since last week, so I don't think it's the pec muscle that's letting me down. In honest truth, I think it's a combination of the shoulders and the triceps that are affecting me, and that's why I'm not able to achieve those last couple of reps, and that will happen to you. With us doing the heavy chins and heavy dips in the last session, it will be the shoulders and triceps, those supplementary areas that we spoke about, that will catch you out, not necessarily the pec. Right, we'll try another set. 30 seconds or so. You mind if I grab you again? Is that all right? Yeah, nice. Thanks. See what we can do. Get into the zone. Okie doke. Same again, yeah. I'll try for 6. I've taken off 2.5 kilos, so we'll see if it's. We'll see. Okie doke.
Let's go.
1, 2, 3.
Follow you. Right.
1, 2,
Good.
3.
Nice. Drive. Come on. Nice and tight. Right. Power. Come on.
Come on.
Let's go. Come on. Come on. Load the power off the chest. Let's go. Drive it up. Drive.
Cheers, Darren.
All right.
Close.
Well.
Happens. Whew. Happy with that though, that's good. So, failed on the last rep of the last 3 sets. So sets 2, 3, 4. Fail. Yeah, don't worry. Only 1 rep, so that's 1 rep on each. Plus I dropped it 2.5 kilos, so that's good. I put that down to good positive progress and recovery, which we will talk about when we review this article, which is very, very good. Feel my shoulders working. Lateral, deltoid. So it does hit the shoulder complex. Ooh. Right, let's try and get some weight on this farmer's carry. I'll spin you around. We'll set this up actually, we've got to do biceps afterwards. Do some biceps to finish off with. Biceps get a good workout. Right, we'll hit the biceps with this farmer's carry as well now, which is great. We might need a bit of chalk. Certainly need a bit of water. Right. We haven't done this for a while, so it should be interesting. Awesome. So we want optimal time under tension on this. Ooh. Ooh. Some water, got some chalk. Right, we love this. It's a good one. See if we can get our grip strength up as well. Oh, fantastic. Yeah, it's a good warm-up. Happy with that. We did do a little bit of this off screen as well. Fantastic goal. Yeah. What have we got in there? 15, 30. So that's 60 kilos plus the 2 bars. So that's 82. Should we jump up to 100 and... Should we double the weight? We want a bit more time under tension, don't we? So let's go up in slow increments because we've got more stim. Excellent. Return on investment for the shoulders and the abs. Bit of grip. Awesome. Don't be afraid to load this up, providing you've got good core stability and a healthy bicep. Some people do this for short distances with very, very heavy weight for like an explosive power. I think that's fantastic. And I think that is the target in these kind of powerlifting strongman events where it's most weight over a distance quick as you can. Personally, I think when you're preparing for such a thing like that, in fact, not personally, I think it is a fact. The way you want to prepare for that really is, again, it's submaximal training. So at some points you will peak and go really, really heavy for the distance you can, as fast as you can. I get that, sure. You can have that practice run of, you know, a dress rehearsal. But I think if you can hold a submax, or rather I should say, if you can hold a submax weight over a longer period of time for more duration, you're going to get much more benefit and gains for that. And don't be afraid to go outside as well. I'm lucky here, we've got a really nice stretch, but you can take this outside. And if you're a boy or girl, you can do this. This is just like carrying shopping bags, heavy shopping bags. So everything we do on this channel is very, very functional. Right, let's just see if we can do this though, because this is going to be a jumping weight. I might put some just to help my grip strength. So I'd always try to keep this weight a bit lower and get optimal work from it. I think that's going to be as much more, for me, it's much more beneficial to your body. And competition. Right, let's try and get up and down. Nice. Yeah. Oh. Yeah, that's good. That feels like a good warm-up. I feel my abs working actually. It's really good. Very complementary to the other heavy days that we've done. Awesome. Right. So that was 120. That felt really good actually for 120. $90, 82, 92, 102, 112, 122. Yeah, that felt really, really good. I think I fancy one more set on this weight as a warm-up. Yeah. Feel good to go again actually. Recovery is quite good now. I think, you remember, I suppose as the season goes on, you're expected to get fitter and stronger as well, so your fitness should go up. Whereas we don't work VO2 max, I expect my VO2 to go up over the course of the season, because there are some slight elements of cardio, not lots of cardio, but some elements of hitting the cardiorespiratory reserve. Particularly when we do sleds and duration type things like this. Yes. Yeah. Get a bit more on there now. We should try for a 160 really, shouldn't we? Get a couple of fives on there. Yeah. I'd be happy with 160. That would be a season's best. And I think it will complement our global strength. See what we can do. So that is 20, 40, 60, 80, 120, 140, 50, 62. So that's 162 kilos. 162. Yeah. Positive mentality. We can do it. You'll feel your quads. Strangely, you will feel your quads working. And your calves, anti-gravity. Because as you're walking, body wants to rotate. Got this torque. This kind of torque, axial rotation around your spine as you're carrying something. You naturally want to swing, so put that weight through your legs. This could be tough. We'll see how it goes. Wish me luck. Oh. Bit of a recoup. This is another good exercise to start with, actually. We mentioned about good exercises to start with in the gym. I said the first thing I would ever prescribe, exercise prescription is the correct term. The thing I would ever prescribe anybody to do, as I've shown you, is the Beering-Sorensen test, which I showed you for the lower back, hyperextension work, strengthen lower back and the core. Absolutely 100% first time every time. This is one of the other ones because the farmer's carry requires minimal technical. It's not a very technical exercise. It's quite a primitive movement. You know, it's lifting something up with both arms. But what it will give you is, for its low technical requirement, it gives you a high stress on the body and a high stress on the nervous system. It's functional. It's time over tension. So this is one of the other ones that I would certainly give you if you're looking at starting and just trying to just stimulate your body to up-regulating into getting a bit stronger. Keeps those aches and pains away. If you're somebody that kind of suffers with any kind of like just feeling a bit washed out and a bit weak, because you're quite unfit really, and this will just give you that little bit of stimulation. Gets the heart and lungs going as well, but not to the point that you're completely exasperated and sweating, but it will stimulate you from get the heart and lungs pumping a bit more as well. Right, we'll try and get there and back. I think that's a good run. Whew. See if we can get this. Come on. So we've got a very, very good article review coming up that we're going to sit down and talk to you about, as we do. And it's going to give us a good platform to discuss other things. And you can join in, guys. You let me know about the problems that you've had and whether, if it's something you've experienced. Right, let's see how this feels. I'm always surprised at myself with new limits in life. I didn't think I'd be able to do that. If I let you in on a little secret, I didn't think I'd be able to do that, but I did, and that was amazing. Yeah, that was fantastic. Sorry, just getting my breath, recovering. Oh man, that was good. 160, wow. Happy with that. Happy. Try and get 2 more sets out. That is progress. Positive. That's testament to, wow, I've not done that for so long. I don't know when the old stream was that we did this. It was a long time ago. But we've gone up by 20 kilos. And the most positive thing about that is it felt smooth as well. Like, there wasn't falterations, I nearly said. It's not even a word. It's like altering fault. So I'm out of breath and rush of blood to the head. There was no faltering in my technique as I was doing it. I felt like it was optimal stress without limiting and hindering technique and performance, and achievable. That was really good. I did use the wrist wraps though. I did put that on, that was fine. I don't mind. Look, it's gonna help my wrist. I'm not gonna be, don't wanna be dislocating my radius, my ulnar and my carpal bones. It's gonna give me a little bit of grip help, that's fine. My forearms are still pumped. They're really, really pumped up, my forearms, so I'm still getting optimal work through the grip. I think it's more just giving me a little bit of proprioceptive input. Proprioception is the concept of knowing where your bones and joints are in space without looking. Oh. Right, I think we're ready for another set. This feels really good. Right. Oh, come on, second round. Let's do it. Come on. Oh. Oh, fitness. If you pay attention to my breathing, I know it probably sounds awful on the microphone, but you got to realize there's technique. The breathing is part of the technique, which I think is every 2 or 3 steps I'm doing it. And the heavier you go with any exercise, your breathing, timing is going to really dictate and have influence on your technique and your execution and your ability to stay alive. So, wow. So one more set, and then we'll go through a very interesting research article, as we do on this channel, put the science into strength and the learning into the lifting, and we have to start taking sports and exercise and gym life, we have to start taking it to the next level. I mean, we've got a bit complacent. A lot of people taking shortcuts, relying on drugs and steroids and trying to find shortcuts and stuff. But if they applied the principles of proper prevention, rehabilitation, whether it's osteopathic techniques, physiotherapy techniques, proper sports and exercise science, strength and recovery, and we're patient enough to apply those principles, you shouldn't need to take anything at all, and you'll save yourself a lot of problems in the long term. And you can still look good, feel good, live long. Oh. Wow. Oh. So, like I say, it's nice to offer the contrast. I think there's people who want to do that kind of thing and have that kind of content as a market for that. I don't think there is a market for that. I think it's an artificial market. I think it's a short-term market. I think the returns and the rewards on that market are always short-changing you in terms of your health, time and investment and money. I think there's a contrasting true market that me and several other streamers and voices of authority. Oh, it's fine, you're short anyway. You're probably, it's all right. You're short anyway, we've got under the camera. Come and say hello if you want to, yeah? What's your message for the world?
So many people in love.
Be who you want to be. Be who you are. Don't be fake. I was just talking about that now, actually. I was just talking about being fake. You know, these people who are trying to sell a false market online with, get like me, take this drug, do this program. It's a load of, and I think they're shortchanging themselves. Whereas if you can put in the true work over the longer period of time, naturally. Yeah. It's on YouTube. Oh, what's his thing? Yeah, show us.
He goes to
main race normally, but he goes
Oh,
to
yeah.
gym and Leckie now.
Oh yeah, nice.
He's like
Yeah,
really pushing himself.
good. What's his
Loves
name
it.
there? I'll have a look at his channel. Crouch Hit, HIIT. Awesome.
Like he loves it. He does it with his
Awesome,
girlfriend,
does
and
he?
my other brother.
Lovely.
He comes here actually. You've probably seen him once or twice.
Drew. Let's have a look.
This is him in this gym.
Do I recognise? Might have seen him once or twice, yeah.
They love
I think so.
Bogdan.
Do they? It's a good season in the winter,
know.
isn't it? Yeah. Great, isn't it? Good, thanks for stopping by. All right. Funny that, isn't it? Be who you be. What a coincidence. Anyway, they got me mansplaining it to them and they don't really need that, do they? Right, I think we're ready for another set. But you get the principle in practice. Case in point made. Don't need to labour it. She's enjoying herself, jumping around. Right, last set. There's some biceps. And we'll do this research review. Righto, here we go. Wow. Come on. Big. Come on, come on, come on. 1, 2. Yeah. Well, positive hold at the end there. Oh. Come on. Got to really work it. If it's too hard, you can step closer and do less, and then work. And then so, grab it halfway up. Yeah. So start up here, and then you got less to do, and it's better. And then you can work your way back as you get stronger. Tie it around the.
Yeah. Pass me that side.
Come out into the green. Nice one. Oh, it's great to see the young guns getting involved. Awesome. I started when I was 16 as well. So, right, let me pop this away. We do some bicep curls and go through this absolutely barnstorming. Oh, we love research. I love research, but I'm very academic as well. So, what I mean by that is I love trials, clinical trials, observational studies, cause and effect of science, and understand the basic sciences, putting it into practice and seeing the effects on the body. That's exactly what I do, and that's what I've done for years, doing training programs like this. I can't believe I just did that, 160 for 3. I'm really happy with that. That is a new season's best, having never previously. The last time we did it with him, we did 140, didn't we? 140. A little bit of faff, we'll put this away. And keep the place nice and tiny. Fantastic. 3. Ooh. 4. Right, let's do some biceps. It's going to be, biceps are nice and warm, so I think we're going to go straight in onto, we'll get straight in on the big 40, we'll try a 40. And we'll see how that feels. 40 kilo. If it's too light, we'll jump on a bit more. Oh. Fantastic. Right, so if we do this here, where's the optimal position, let's say. You're right, are you going to train there?
Yeah.
Are you? Do you want me to face the camera the other way so you're not on the screen, or are you comfortable with it?
Can you face the other way?
Yeah,
That's
sure.
okay.
No problem. I'll get it this way. So if I go there, yeah, you're cut out now, that's fine. Right, let's do the first set.
Is this a good workout?
I think it's a good workout, but I think there's better ones to start with. And I think that is something that you could do later when you're a bit stronger, because you don't want to hurt your lower back. And that bar going across your stomach for the hip thrust, you don't want to damage your stomach muscles because you get a hernia. But it's up to you, do what you feel comfortable with. As long as it's light, I think you'll be all right at the start. Even the bar can be heavy, can't it? Yeah.
Just doing like what I see online and what's
Exactly, and that's what people do. They copy paste without any understanding. So what you could do is, if you get a little 5 kilo plate and put the plate, so if you get a little 5 kilo like this, but 5, and you put it there to start with, that'll be a bit better. Yeah. Okay. Right, let's have a little go on this. Come on. See how that is. Awesome. Sounds. So, whoa. That's pretty good. So, the a little bit of chalk. That feels just right, actually. 40 kilos, 6 or 7 reps, especially after doing the chin-ups the other day. Heavy on the biceps, that is. The chin-ups really taxing. And then we've done the farmer's carry on the bicep. So allow me to present. What we'll do is we'll do it now intermittent with with the bicep curls. So, I'm going to present to you today some research, which is what we do on this channel. I've started doing it recently, but I've been doing a lot of background reading as well. And I'm still, as you can probably tell, I'm still trying to find my feet as well and the best way to deliver it. So I think it's probably best done at the end of the session, because it allows me to talk about the principles and stuff and put them into practice. And sometimes during the session, I can apply the principle and do the principle and then discuss it later and use the research to back that up as well. So we did incline press today. We can talk about chest injuries on bench press today as well. It is in this article. So this is a article. This is a narrative review. So a narrative review, meaning these authors are writing about it. So some of the terminology, I want to pitch this to a broad audience as well. It's not just for doctors and people who know all the fancy terms and words. I think it has to be delivered in a way that's understandable, because research can be a bit scary. Research can be a little bit alienating, and if people don't know and don't understand, and we've got examples of that all over the place. Let's take the most recent pandemic, when we had the coronavirus pandemic, and the research to back certain things up. Nobody really knew how to make sense of all the information that was generated and what meant this and what meant that. And a lot of it was done in retrospect, where we would go, oh, that causes that and that means that. And then, so it's quite hard sometimes with the volume of information, is what I'm saying. So if we can deliver it in a way that's understandable and helps people understand and empowers you really to go and find and make your own decisions, and that's it. What we can do is go through things, and it also helps me to learn and keep my knowledge and practice up to date, and also apply it in practice by doing it in the gym, not just some online guru who tells you what to do. And as that lady was just saying, she's just doing what she saw online and copy paste, really without any understanding of the dangers of it or what to do or how to do it properly. So let's lead by example, let's say, and practice what we preach. So, narrative review of injuries in powerlifting. So a commentary or a written review of injuries in powerlifting with special reference to the association to squat, bench press and deadlift. So it's a review of injuries in powerlifting in squat, bench and deadlift. Fine. So this is a 2018 article from the British Medical Journal on Open Sports and Exercise Medicine by Bengtsson and Berglund. It has come, so it's 2018, it has come from Sweden. These guys are based in Sweden. I did like this article. I think it summarizes all the case reports, cohort studies, which we'll talk about more as we go through this, over the last 20 to 30 years. And as I mentioned in the previous stream where we did the research review on how deadlifts can influence injury risk in the lower back, what we found is the research can be quite sporadic, and it's usually done on small groups of people with small data samples, with quite poor data collection, and it's really hard to get one big long-term trial with lots and lots of information and lots of people. So this article is quite good because it has gathered all the information on injuries in powerlifting from squat, bench and deadlift from the last 20, 30 years. I think it's a fantastic place to start. And the reason why they've done this article is because there's no previous article has summarized what is known about specific injuries and the injury cause associated with squat, bench and deadlift. So what's causing these injuries and what is known about specific injuries, what types of injuries that people get in, and what's the cause of them. So what are the new findings? So just to summarize, the new findings are there is limited evidence describing a relationship between powerlifting exercises and the specific injury. And most of the information has come from case reports, meaning individuals, one or two, or sometimes small groups of people that they've looked and had a bit of data collection on. And most studies report bench press injuries with pec major ruptures, which we'll talk about more very, very soon. We'll dig into this in a bit more depth very shortly. Let's do another set and then we'll really get into it. I just want to bang out a couple of sets on this. And then we'll sit down and have a good chin wag. because it is interesting, and I think it's more informed practice for you guys as well in the gym, so you know what to look out for and you know what the consequences are, more importantly. I think I got 8 or 9, I don't know, I lost count. Right, I've got one more set, so I'm going to get going on this. Right, let me sit down because it's less like lecture or mansplaining, like those poor girls got earlier. But they got it. Right, whew. So, a review of the injuries associated with squat, bench and deadlift. So, what do I like about these studies? They give us a good platform to understand what is out there, but it's very, very hard with these reviews to draw evidence and affirmative conclusions on what's causing something, and it's usually not the study's fault. It's usually down to the other studies that they review having quite poor data collection or not being specific and precise enough with the factors influencing those injuries and bringing those injuries on in the first place. So, little introduction, which is interesting because it says here that during training, lifters use sub-max loads. We love that because we do sub-max on this channel. Lifters use sub-maximal loads but engage in higher volumes of training to stimulate hypertrophy and maximal strength. Fantastic. So, the next little section I've highlighted here, which you will have the link to this article in the description. And I've highlighted certain sections, so if you can find the article and re-watch this part of the live stream and follow it along if you like. I think that's probably the best way for you guys to do it, but do it how you feel. Sub-elite, I don't know what I would classify myself as, I don't know, just amateur, don't know, guy having fun. But sub-elite, whatever that classification is, to elite, I think I'm elite. Sub-elite to elite lifters report that 22 to 32% of their injuries are related to the squat. So 22, so let's say 20 to 30% of injuries related to their squat. 18 to 46%, so nearly half of their injuries related to the bench press, and 12 to 31% to the deadlift exercise. So furthermore, injuries have been described that are acute, as in new, and related to overload character. We've spoke a lot about overload and the dangers of overload. However, overuse injuries were much more frequent, and we have been saying that on this channel as well about paying attention to. That's why in the intro to this video, that's why I always talk about how I'm feeling after the last session and what's going on, because what I'm trying to do with that is show awareness as well, that you're cognizant and you're thinking of how you feel when you're training, and it's not just about grinding out another session. It's like you actually have to pay attention to what is going on, because if you haven't fully recovered, you're going to hit overuse injuries, and this accounts for a large percentage of the injuries that the elite and sub-elite guys are reporting. So I have read this, so I'm just going to go through the bits I've highlighted, and I think you can then fill up yourself, which I think's, as I say, finding the style to deliver it as well. So here we go. So it goes through a little bit about how in competition, how the judge person monitoring the lift that you're going to do tells you how to rack and re-rack and how to do it. Now, so in terms of the squat, it says here the main contributing muscles during the performance of the squat are the back, the hip extensors, and the hip adductors, and then the hip abductors, so your glute med and min, knee extensors, and ankle plantar flexors, so the calf and the soleus muscle. on the back and the plantaris. So that's good. So, and then it goes on to say here how the bench press is performed with a grip of, the bench press is performed with a grip width in competition of no more than 81 centimetres between index fingers. So your 2 index fingers on the bench are no more than 81 centimetres. Fine. I'm assuming that is about the 2 strips on the bar. That's what I use anyway. So it goes through the various techniques used. So injuries may be related to excessively heavy loads, large range of motion during the exercise, and insufficient rest times between training sessions, or faulty lifting technique. Sounds quite logical to me. I do mention that a lot on this channel about how much time we need to recover as a natural, and making sure the technique is optimal, and if you need to drop the weight down to correct that technique, it's going to save you a lot of trouble in the long run. So I think that is completely accurate. So it's quite nice as well that this is reflected in the academic literature, what we teach on this channel. So how did they find these articles? Basically, they have searched all the internet databases for all the articles on, and they only used English language peer-reviewed journal papers, which means peer-reviewed means a little bit more strength of evidence. There's lots of scientific people who've had a look at it and given their opinion and made sure it's of a substantial and robust quality to be published, which is important. So it's been peer-reviewed, which is your friend having a look at it, or someone neutral who's a third party and not connected and not involved in the study having a look at it, basically, and other expert people involved. So journal papers are considered. There's no limitation on publishing year or gender, so that's good. So they've gone a full history of databases. Let me just do one more set and then we'll get into it. We'll finish off. It's the last set. Casual 40 in between literature review. That's tough, man. That's really hard, but optimal. Ooh. Right, so hopefully that is a mega stim. I feel it in the morning. Righto. Awesome. Right, so let's continue this discussion. You can follow it through. So we talk about how they search the methodology, search all the databases, English language only, peer-reviewed papers, no limitations on publishing year or gender. So out of 1,000 studies that they found, they've cut that down and disqualified a lot of text because sometimes all the data wasn't available from those texts and so on. And they had to be very specific papers they analysed because they were looking at injuries in the squat, bench and the deadlift. So if that information wasn't reported in one of the studies, they had to cut it out. So they ended up with 40 studies in the end that were relevant for inclusion. So the number of studies reporting injuries caused by the squat was 7. The number of studies reporting injuries to the bench press was 30. That's quite high, isn't it? And the number of studies reporting injuries for the bench press was for the deadlift was 4. So in terms of squat-related injuries, the most common ones were musculotendinous, meaning where the muscle and the tendon connect. So they were ruptures, or musculotendinous avulsions, meaning they're ruptures of the muscle to the tendon, or they're ruptures of the tendon to the bone. So if you if you overlift basically, and you rip that muscle away from the bone, it's going to come off from the bone, and it's probably going to take a little bit of bony chunk with it as well. It's painful, it's horrible, it happens very suddenly. Have some videos of people doing that online. I met a guy in the gym once in London who Looked fantastic for his age. I think he was 45, and I said, "Blooming heck, you know, you don't look a day over 30. You look fantastic." And he went, "Oh yeah, it must be all the heavy lifting." I said, "Oh, what did you do?" He said, "Oh yeah, I used to lift heavy." No. But he said one day he went ridiculously heavy, and he ruptured so he got a musculotendinous rupture. He avulsed, so he took the tendon and the muscle off the bone in the quadricep. And he said another thing he got was a fracture in the neck from doing a deadlift. Which we'll talk more about because there is some information on that here actually. So musculotendinous ruptures or avulsions. 3 cases of bilateral quadriceps tendon ruptures. Rupturing them both at the same time during a squat is nasty. And one of them had a spiral fracture of the bones in the lower leg as well. So you've popped the muscle off here, meaning there's no support for your lower leg at all. And you have fallen and twisted and broken the lower part of your leg as well. So that's pretty nasty injuries. These are high load traumas. 2 case reports included lifters using anabolic steroids. Now the problem there is disclosure. So of all these case reports and these injuries, not a lot of people are willing to admit. And particularly if these studies were quite old, not a lot of the people who are taking part in these studies or are analysed are willing to declare and divulge the information if they are taking steroids. But I do think, in my honest opinion, and looking at the evidence and how things are adding up, and the things that we see online nowadays, is there's a lot of steroid abuse, and those are the guys who are a good evidential population of people who are abusing steroids, and they're the ones who are paying the price and getting those injuries. So those guys are great for data collection. It's just about getting them to disclose and declare the information that they are on steroids and they have suffered an injury. And I think if more people did that, and that allowed better data collection, there would be more correlation, and we'd be able to see the true damage that it's causing. So that's interesting. So in addition, the various fractures and fractured bones that people have reported from performing the squat exercise. They've had fractured ankles and the talus bone, which is like a little block at the bottom of the ankle for stability. And they've also had a fracture of the lower neck, which is the bony bits that stick out the lower neck, which is called a clay shoveler's fracture, which I never knew. That's probably from the heavy bar going across the back, and the weight going across the bottom of the neck has fractured the bone in the neck. Bench press related injuries. So most case reports or case series, meaning a group of people who've had the same injury and grouped together, they've reported pec major ruptures caused by bench pressing. Now the meta-analysis, meaning a review of all the studies and some statistical analysis on that, has found there's been bench press is a major cause of pec major ruptures, and we've mentioned this in our stream that was called Why is narrow grip bench press so important? Because several case studies here have reported ruptures of the triceps tendon. So that is why we do our supplementary work on this channel. We do our dips and we do our narrow grip bench press as well, because we don't just want to be hitting the bench press flat out. What we actually want to be doing is working the supplementary areas such as the shoulder and the triceps. We spoke about the anatomy of the triceps and how it goes over 2 joints. The long head goes over 2 joints, that being the elbow and the shoulder. And it is vulnerable to injury. Interestingly though, let me just draw this on you as well, is of those 4 tricep tendon ruptures, 3 of them have been using oral anabolic steroids. So that's 3 out of 4. That's 75% of people have had a triceps rupture. And so not only were they taking steroids, they've reported that before the rupture, they had long-term elbow pain, and 2 of the people had received injections to calm that pain down. So the idea there is that they would inject so they've got an overuse injury in the triceps tendon, which causes inflammation from overworking it because they're on steroids, anabolic steroids. And then what they've tried to do is to fix that pain. They've tried to get an injection into the tendon with another steroid, but not an anabolic steroid. It's with a corticosteroid. And corticosteroids are fantastic for lowering inflammation, taking away pain. And they're not so great for healing though. And when those corticosteroids get into the tendons, there's a lot of literature on this as well, is when those corticosteroids get into those tendons that are already a bit weak and inflamed and damaged from the overuse from the steroids, the anabolic steroids, what tends to happen then is it weakens the tendon more, and then it'll burst and it'll pop, and then it will rupture, should I say is the correct word. It will rupture the tendon off the bone, or the muscle and the tendon will tear away from each other. So, and that was only within a few weeks of having a tendinopathy, meaning a tendon injury. And that is very common in the literature. It's well known really that one of the first things they teach you when you go onto these injection courses, if you're a radiologist, radiographer, or if you're training to give injections, they'll say stay away from the tendons with your steroids because it will make them weak. So deadlift related injuries, now they didn't report very much on this unfortunately, and mainly though, as we'd expect, the most affected area is the lower back or the lower extremities. There is actually one lifter with a pec major rupture. Now I have said this because when I altered my deadlifting technique many, many years ago, and I think I was doing about 120, 130, and what I've done is I felt that my technique was really, really faulty. And I spoke to a friend of mine in the gym, and Francis, fantastic guy, and he was British bench press champion at the time. I still speak to Francis today, so hello Francis if you're watching. He corrected my deadlift technique, and what I had to do was drop down from I think I was doing 120 at the time or something, and my technique wasn't great. I had to drop it right down to about 80 kilos. And what I noticed, the first thing I noticed from doing that was not only my technique improved by lowering the weight, but actually I felt it in different parts of my body, and I actually felt my pecs working when I was doing deadlift, which felt, I was like, why does my chest feel so pumped? Because it's such a global stimulation. And there is one guy reporting, or one person, it doesn't say the gender, a pec major rupture on deadlift. Fantastic. Well, not fantastic, but interesting. Hamstring muscle ruptures, why? Because we said deadlift is a legs exercise. So hamstring muscle ruptures, no surprise there. Knee meniscus, meaning the cartilage inside the knee, also very common to do. Lots of wear and tear, particularly if you are really cranking your knees up and there's a bit of rotation in the knees as well. It can really damage the cartilage inside. So to discuss this a bit further, no study has reported the relationship between the exercises and the movement impairments. So although they've gathered this information on injuries in the exercises, none of them have reported if they had a faulty technique or if their movement wasn't optimal. And that again comes down to quality of data collection really. Okay. So also there was no articles that reported injuries in the thoracic or the lumbar spinal structures, which I find that really hard to believe because I would expect somebody to at least have a disc problem, but that's unusual. So despite the fact that, he goes on to say that despite the fact that the deadlift exercise seems to cause the majority of powerlifting injuries, there's actually a limited amount of research reporting the occurrence of specific injuries. And I just think it's because people don't document it, you know, and I think as well, if something's been creeping up on you for a while and then you suddenly feel it, you may not directly relate that to the deadlift because you may feel it when you do something else. Only 3, I mentioned that they found 38 studies, so only 3 of the studies reported, from the people taking part in the studies, reported that the lifting technique wasn't great. And only 3 out of the 38 studies reported that their lifting technique was suboptimal and cause of injury. And I probably think that I'd expect it to be a lot more. I think if your technique is really, really faulty, it's got to account for a lot more than that. But again, if it's not reported, then how can you attribute that to it being down to technique? If it's not reported, not reflected in the literature, people will just say, oh, it can't possibly be my technique because, you know, my technique's fantastic. Well, it isn't. But it's hard to link that to the cause of the injury. So notably, heavy load and fatigue were also emphasized as contributing factors in these cases. Now, this is why at the start of this channel, I always talk about what we're going to do today and how much weight we're going to lift and how I'm recovering and feeling and what's the fatigue like, because this is a factor that not a lot of people really pay attention to. I think today, the lifts that I failed on the incline bench press today, those last 3 sets, and the last 1 rep of those 3 sets, I think that was down to fatigue. I think that was down to my shoulders and triceps being very sore from doing the chins and the dips only 2 days ago. Of course, if I'd pressed on and gone heavier and heavier, that's where I'm leaving myself open to injury. Interestingly here, so this was an interesting point that I wanted to point out here. So it goes on to say in this article that there's still some disagreement among researchers, coaches and athletes as to what constitutes correct technique, and whether aspects of technique such as squat depth, the width of the stance and the speed of the movement and the barbell position and where you're looking or your head position is, whether they influence the risk of injury and to what extent the lifting technique is modified by fatigue. Well, I think if you are tired, I think your technique is going to falter. And there's disagreement between what researchers, coaches and athletes, what constitutes a correct technique. To be honest with you, I think it does have to be, I do think technique does have to be standardized, because it is when they come to these competitions. So I think when you're training for something, I think there should be standardized technique for the main lifts. I think for all lifts. Who should decide that? I don't think it should be individual athletes, because everybody has their own preferences. I don't think it should be coaches, because they're there to coach and progress people and help them along the way. I do think the researchers and the biomechanic people, the biomechanic researchers and the sports and exercise academics, I do think they are in a position to standardize technique, because they're the guys with the access to the trials and the neuromuscular feedback and the computerized technology or the artificial intelligence now of what constitutes most optimal lifting and most optimal technique. I think if you've got that information computerized, so it might say something like, you know, in a deadlift, the more upright your torso is, your gaze, your width of your stance, the grip of the bar, if that can all be standardized as standard technique, then that is the absolute optimal technique. Biomechanical efficiency, that should become the standardized technique. Standardized technique should be based on biomechanical efficiency, not what feels comfortable or right for the individual. So I think that's why there's such a disagreement on what constitutes correct technique and how that risks injury. They go on to mention about compressive shear forces in the knees when you're descending in the squat. Stance width may increase pressure in the knee joint, whereas a narrow stance hits you more in shear forces coming across the knee. Speed of movement as well, so rapid, uncontrolled descent. Now, I speak a lot about this, don't I, in terms of the negative phase of the movement. So if you are rapidly descending, you're out of control, and the shear forces coming through the knee are going to damage your ligaments and your the ligaments and the cartilage. I mention this, and the way I describe it is the positive. Be positive about the negative. So there's still a lot to gain from the negative phase of a movement, essentially. And it says that here about concerning the speed in which you were to descend on the squat, or to drop the weight, if you like. So an uncontrolled negative phase can produce excessive strain and shear forces, particularly on the knee ligaments that are deep inside the knee, called the cruciate ligaments. And I think that is so vital, because you'll notice when I'm doing the squats on this channel, it's always very, very controlled, particularly paying attention to that negative phase. So regarding the barbell position, they talk about whether it's high around the neck or if it's low down and how it influences the hips and the knees. Again, it just comes down to standardizing the technique. But once you have the pressure forces going through the body, there's got to be a computerized way to read that to find optimal biomechanical movement. So, there is disagreement among researchers and coaches and athletes as to what constitutes correct technique for the grip width on the bench press as well. Now, major mechanisms contributing to injury in the bench press suggest that a grip width of 1.5 times the biacromial width. So your acromion process is here. I've spoke about it many times. So that's your acromion to acromion width. So let's say that's on me. That's like, let's say I'm like 1 meter wide. Don't know, 80 centimeters wide. So 1.5 times that is 120. So if I'm at 120 centimeters, that is suggesting that I'm at risk of injury, particularly when it's loaded up, when it's an unrealistic amount of weight, and if I keep repeating that strain and putting that strain through my shoulders, that's going to lead to injury. Wide grip, we've mentioned this actually in the very, very early streams when we do the chin-ups. We've mentioned how wide grip puts you at a biomechanical disadvantage, particularly for the lat muscle. It's the same for the pec muscle when you're doing the barbell press. However, some people do find that by putting them in that position, there's actually, the wider I grip a bar, the lower it is to my chest. So I can I move through less range. Whereas if I bring my arms in a bit more, I've got all this range to go. So it's a way of going wider to move it less, but you're leaving yourself risk of more injury. More pressure on the acromioclavicular joint, the glenohumeral ligaments, which are the ligaments around the top of the shoulder that keep your arm in the socket over your shoulder. And of course, strain on the pec major muscle, which we don't want. Interestingly, this article, what it doesn't note though, is pec minor and the pec minor ruptures, whether they consider that all as one muscle group. But I think the pec minor is particularly vulnerable. It does mention here as well, in one bit I've highlighted, about using a wide grip of 165% or 200%. We don't know what that is. How many centimeters is that on each individual? So basically, if you're double the width, so if you're 200%, if you're double the width of your shoulder to shoulder width, it's preferable for bench press performance because it allows them to lift heavier weights compared to narrow with a wider grip and a shorter distance. I've just mentioned that. Losing control of the barbell, you don't ever want to lose control of the barbell, has been put forward as a mechanism of dislocating the shoulder. Fine, I expect that. Regarding deadlift, this is interesting actually, a more upright torso, so the more your back is upright and not leaning forwards to flat level with the floor, so the more your back is upright, this prevents and this preserves your lumbar, the lower back position, and reduces the risk of injury and strain. I completely agree with that, and I think that's true. I think the more horizontal you are to the floor, the more you want to lift. You're putting pressure on your lower back. However, the more upright I am, I'm driving through my legs more, which is why we talk a lot about having deadlifts as a legs exercise. The reason why you do that and you want to keep your torso up a bit more is because it's going to decrease the hip and spine movements. It's going to decrease the hip and the spine movement arms. What you'll see a lot as well is people who, as they're trying to get the weight up off the deadlift off the floor, you'll find that they prematurely extend their knees, meaning they're going to push their hips up straight before the weight has come off the floor. So that premature extension or that straightening of the knees before they've left the bar is going to push them into a stiff-legged deadlift, really, and it's going to put too much pressure on the lower back. So I tend to stay away from stiff-legged deadlifts. I don't do the Russian or the Romanian or whatever they're called. I find it will catch you out one day, and I think it does put a lot of pressure on that lower disc, the L5-S1. By straightening the knees too early in your deadlift, it's going to take away activity from your quadriceps, which you need to be engaged and active, and it's going to increase this posterior chain of your hamstring and your erector spinae muscle in your back, which we spoke about. And again, if you keep doing that, it's going to leave you vulnerable to injury as well. They've mentioned a couple of things here in the lower paragraphs about technique, the amount of load, and fatigue. These are obvious. Train sub-max, listen to your body, make sure you get yourself recovery. Interesting here, so a bit more of some of the principles that we apply on this channel I've highlighted here as well to say, perform the most demanding exercises. So some of the summaries, what they can conclude for safe lifting for the squat, bench and the deadlift is to perform the most demanding exercises immediately after the warm-up during the initial part of the training session, this is done by most powerlifters, and I think that's universally agreed. That's why we attack the bar, we get straight into it on this channel. However, no study has investigated the specific relevance of training loads, acute or chronic, as a risk factor for injuries. So again, it's down to data, really. Women lifters, so something about the females here, so women lifters report significantly more injuries in the neck and the middle of the back and the hand and wrist, whereas men seem to have higher rates of chest and thigh injuries. Women also seem to get injured earlier into their career than men. And there was no difference between age and frequency of injury. Here's another interesting point that we speak about in this channel, a lot about central nervous system, and we speak a lot about neural recruitment. We speak a lot about supercharging the nervous system. It says here that non-optimal, you know, the way they describe these things. So non-optimal neuromuscular, so nerve into the muscle, non-optimal neuromuscular control is often referred to as movement system impairments. And that's why I speak a lot about, during the pre-season of doing this strength training, I spend a lot of time really trying to stimulate my nervous system, putting it under time, under tension, doing paused loads, doing some plyometrics and calisthenics, lightening the load, doing explosive work, lifting at a deficit, and really, really gripping and really supercharging up the nervous system. Okay, so final little bit now is one of the things that was found here is, let me just quote this for you, and I quote, if changing the movement pattern or technique decreases pain, the movement system causing this suboptimal movement needs to be retrained, and I think that's true. So it's kind of like using your movements to find a way around an injury, to train a little bit differently. But this has been highlighted as the lifters themselves. So what other lifters will say is, oh, I can't do that because it hurts me. So what I have to do is retrain my technique to find a way around it. I think what you need to do at that point is really lower the weight and build yourself back up. But it's really, really hard. And we dropped the weight today. I knew that doing the 102 kilos on the incline press was going to be, you know, it's going to falter my technique and it's going to lead to a potential injury. Interestingly, in the questionnaire that was asked, however, injuries in powerlifting, they attributed a lot of their injuries to faulty lifting technique in combination with excessive loads. So they were going too heavy with bad technique. And that is what they answered in the questionnaire. Plus, we don't know. They may have not reported, or it may have been underreported. These guys are on steroids as well. We don't know. In all of these case studies, some of the limitations of this is in all of these case studies that they found over the last 10 or 20 years, what was not reported was the actual outcome. So whether they'd recovered or how long the injury went on for, and information about lifting technique. They very rarely actually reported that. So I think that's really interesting. So the link to this article is in the link to this video, and that's a 2018 study, and it's covered all the studies and all the case reports from their search. There was no limit on the time limit, so it's all the studies that they've caught in their search criteria, and you guys can read through that as well. And what they've got in here is in the tables, which I can't show you and talk about. But if you actually do flick through this paper, you can go through table 1, table 2, and table 3, and you can see a full list of specific injuries that they've reported, such as pec major rupture, fractured collarbone, shoulder dislocation, rupture of the hamstring, lower back pain. Surprisingly, there wasn't much disc problem, not many disc problems and lower back disc, you know, people that slipped a disc. They haven't reported that too much, and I find that really, really strange because I'd expect there to be quite a high association between incorrect technique, heavy load, and deadlift. But there was not that much data available for deadlift, which is very, very unusual. And lots of knee injuries and muscle tears and things. So there we go. I think that sets us up quite nicely actually to talk about other things going forward. So thanks for joining today's live stream, and we've reviewed an article at the very end there, and we did some incline press. We surprised ourselves doing a very, very heavy farmer's carry, which I was really surprised with. I've kind of honestly really I didn't think I'd be able to do that 160, but I did. I managed to. I didn't think I'd do it, but wow. Really happy with that. Anyway, thanks for joining, and that's it. I'm gonna have 2 days rest now, deserved, and enjoy the rest of my birthday. Time to get social. And see you again from the live lifts. And thanks for joining. See you soon.